until they harassed me enough. First poem for Sarasota. Circus. I clasp the hands of Philippe, leap, and he lifts me above his head in one motion. With my feet together, I mimic the angle of arches until a town surrounds my spine. I concentrate on the couple with the small child or the old man's beret. From this held view, with quivering arms, in the clarity of compression, I feel the crowd twinge. I bend more until I'm close to you, until we're all acrobats held up by someone, the extraordinary feat of how not to be a body suspended alone. Drinks purposely. A free man hunts squirrels and possums, drinks moonshine purposely, loves to tell stories, stares buzzards off the ground, keeps an ear for shotgun blast, sleeps on the ground of what's coming, snatches a stomach of a hog, pounds it thin and smoldering ash, blows a balloon for children, spits while crossing big water, hums gullah air to tidal creeks, steers a boat with flaring sides. Swallow the why. I fly into a crowded bar, a half-full street, a labyrinth, make such inglorious choices and wonder why I landed there. Mostly I swallow the why, buzz to whoever will listen, the clerk of lost screws at Ace Hardware, the membership checker at Costco, and the ex-con at Stan's Car Wash. Make me believe I am part of how we are connected. But after a few hasty turns, I'm stuck behind the blinds again. We're gonna go kind of back and forth, so I'm gonna turn this over to Susan.
Thank you for being here. So my husband and I moved to Florida when we retired 2 years ago. And that was not my first choice, but our daughter moved to Tampa. And we had lived 45 years of our married life outside of Denver, Colorado, and I loved the mountains, I loved the terrain, I loved the sky, I loved the weather. So this first poem is about moving to Florida and driving caravan down from Denver to Florida. And so these first few poems are going to deal with water, because I envisioned in my mind if I had to leave the mountains, I would get here and I would always see the Gulf or the ocean, which has not been the case at all. But anyway, the Palmer's Tale. Palmer is an old-fashioned word for pilgrim. It's dark when we roll out, the mountains at our backs. Tonight, there's no deep well of stars above. We caravan like Palmers riding husky horses, traveling from 40 years of columbine and snow to lemon trees, our daughter, and the sea. I sigh into the rearview mirror and see our townhome melt away like mountains into midnight or a wet spring snow beneath the Colorado sun. No farewells. This is no easy leave-taking. Traveling east, I squeeze the wheel with both my palms. From his car ahead, my husband's palm surfs the shiny air. Hopes like sea waves roll, rise, then break in Kansas. We travel fields where bales of hay are mini mountains, and nation ears of corn poke up in well-groomed rows, rooting on winter's snow. I listen to a tale of uncertainty and snow, a young girl leading men to safety. I palm away my sympathetic tears and wheel across Tennessee toward a house I've yet to see. Did faith sustain that girl over unknown mountains? Inch by inch, in rush hour traffic, we travel in Atlanta's heavy heat, traveling through a city rarely blessed by snow. For decades, we obeyed the summons of lofty mountain passes. Today, we follow the lowly call of palm fronds, ibis, lightning, progeny, and seaborne breezes. Now I hear it. All shall be well, and all manner of thing shall be well. This I whisper as I travel toward endless summer, where I hope to see moss drip down from trees like snow, egrets dance the two-step, palm trees soar, and waves smooth sandy mountains. All shall be well, in sun or snow, for us tandem travelers, modern palmers, as we move from mountains to the sea. Here's another one about water, although this took place in Denver. And sometimes we forget that we had that little thing called COVID, but it was real. Cloudburst. Sad news this morning, read my daughter's text. Ravi passed last night. Ravi, whom I've never met. How to grieve a man that I have never met and now will never meet. I find myself beset by this amorphous loss. He would have been her uncle by marriage, but for COVID-19. The weather report predicted a stiff 50 degrees, and I decide to run and feel the angry breeze. I think I'll beat the downpour and quickly change my clothes. A mile out, the wind whips hard and the rain's a drumming prose. I pass a Starbucks and notice the vacant dining area. Oddly, I think of Elijah, transported to heaven by chariot. But Ravi's death was not a smooth heavenward glide. COVID victims wrestle death with no one by their side. At 2 miles out, too late to turn around, large drops pelt my legs, my bare forearms, and the unforgiving asphalt. The water rushes in gutters. I plunge through its freezing foam. Drops weep from the brim of my cap. Run 3 miles from home. I picture a deluge of faces, a flood of decimation, 200,000 plus, the size of a small nation. My shirt plasters my ribs, my shoes and socks drowned. Numbness creeps from thumb to elbow. Run, the storm pounds. As I fumble for my key, I say his name aloud. Ravi. One by one, they die. This unspeakable enormity. And now one more about water. You'll notice the tone change. Old Orchard Beach. This is the place where God takes living slow. He lifts his hand, the wind takes blowing slow. Sunglassed parents watch sandcastles grow. I don't lose my breath. I take my running slow. Open, empty seashells punctuate the sand. No nesting pearls will take their growing slow. A white, bright gull murders a crab. He picks and pulls and takes his feasting slow. Father throws to daughter, daughter throws to brother. Even frisbees take their spinning slow. Earnest, diapered babies lug their pails. They don't know they take their playing slow. On Old Orchard's hard-packed beach, a woman and her walker take their walking slow. There's time for drowsy dreams to grow, where even God takes living slow.
I love the pacing of that one. It's just beautiful. You know, this year has sort of really brought home the fact that you can write about anything. There's no reason not to have a concept about a poem because everything's a poem. This rug is a poem. This rug has heard so many poets, you wonder if this rug could talk. The heart is an eye. Sometimes the heart is an eye that sees the trouble coming. Sometimes it's a lump of flesh pumping sand through the hours, numb as any empty liquor bottle tossed away. Other times it's a star that everything revolves around, brighter than a supermoon over water. It grabs the mic and sings. When I think I understand it, I don't. And I can't explain the inexplicable pluck of its center. It throws itself into trouble head first, even when it flutters in fear. It breaks over the littlest things, a sad flower stuck in a crack, a dog's warm lick. When shunned, it hides for years. But when it falls in love, it embodies, floats. My mom's birthday was yesterday. And I always had a complicated relationship with her. Never appreciated her enough. Her birthday. Mom's birthday comes in early January, and I shiver, surprised by how much I think of her. Since most of my life, I didn't think of her enough. I never understood her mystery inside my school lunch in a brown paper bag that I carried and still carry when I gather with my siblings to laugh around the table. Bologna and sunbeam bread, Dukes and a dab of yellow mustard, iceberg lettuce, and, if lucky, a piece of sharp cheddar, cut in half and wrapped with hands that took the time to seal, the way a mother nourishes. When January lays me bare, I remember she fed me royal caviar. So, a complicated relationship with my mother. My relationship with my father was just non-existent. You know, he was the beast who I avoided until I didn't avoid him. This poem is titled Lousy. My dad said lousy a lot to describe his children. A lousy jump shot, a lousy right fielder, a lousy bed maker, a lousy dishwasher with a lousy attitude. We had lousy eyes, freckles, and postures, but he would never admit we were stationed in lousy towns. We could have become lousy because he fought in 3 lousy wars, where he won a few lousy medals. Every year, we left friends and moved on lousy cross-country car trips. He had a lousy temper and backhand. He would turn lousier when our mom divorced him. He was lousy in love with her. He tasted lousy when schizophrenia came for one of his sons. Afterward, he was never a lousy grandfather or a lousy money giver. He remained lousy at saying sorry. When he died, we never felt lousier and knew a pilot's love didn't land empty. His caps and his god-awful shirts, his lousy flaws, our hearts. And I'm going to read one more and turn it back over to Susan. Whispers of trees. Slice out your tongue. Surrender your worries. When you are able, escape your bonds. Enter the biome, wind-swept pilgrim. The trees whisper, you are seeds of splintered light. In a communion of roots, our lives tremble for an invitation to connectedness. We ponder under a cathedral, craning only for perspective. Measure yourself by how a towering moment passes. Absorb the wafer of woodland, the fall of time. Thank you. Here you go, Susan. Put this.
Didn't it amaze you in that lousy poem? Not a lousy poem, sorry, that isn't what I meant. In that great poem that used the word lousy in so many different ways with so many different connotations. The language is sometimes smarter than we are, I think, but he really captured that. So, this poem is a story, it's a little bit of a longer poem, a true story that happened many, many years ago, over 60 years ago. And the more birthdays I have, the more I find that things way back then were quite formative and they demand my attention. So this poem is called The Messenger. 1. This she recalls. Mommy piles her, along with friends, into the tan Dodge Dart. The ride, smooth on asphalt, and the dust the car stirs on the lane down to the farm. It is her 5th birthday. Dark purple grapes decorate the trellis. Old Shep's growl scares her slack-kneed, back among adults circled up in lawn chairs in the shade. Uncle Dale plants his boots on earth. Aunt Emma and Mommy cross their slender legs and swing their sandaled feet. You kids go play. Ripened words and adult conversation rise, diffusing into summer air. Khrushchev, Kennedy, a pregnant mare. 2. Khrushchev, Kennedy, a pregnant mare. Uncle Dale mumbles and adjusts the wad of chew in his left cheek. You kids go play. In pink seersucker shorts and new white Keds, she scrambles down the lane, feeling the gravel through her rubber soles. The old barn pulls her. She turns, yelling and waving, "Follow me, follow me." The children wait inside until their eyes adjust to dimness. Bales of hay, neatly stacked, pitchforks, shovels, tack, and empty stalls all sharpen into focus. Ah, that ladder to the loft. Don't you dare. They don't. The odors of manure and hay meet tiny noses. The odor wallops them. 3. The smell whomps on. Eyes sting and noses run. The kids sit in the back doorway, stretching matchstick legs and shielding their eyes. Dust motes trot through brilliant fields of light. Outside, horses slurp up water from a trough. Then a messenger appears. He enters the barnyard with intention. All the girls' senses awake. The stir of earth, the rhythm of his hooves, the whinny of his words, the pool of his dark eyes, his heaving flanks, his message, follow me, implicit in the sweep of his tremendous head. One driving turn, one toss of his thick mane, and he thunders back from where he came. 4. The dark horse thunders back from where he came. The thirsty horses freeze, their nostrils flare, and they charge off behind. The news ignites her nerves. Come on, we have to tell Aunt Emma. Tell her what? You heard him, didn't you? Her spindly legs propel her to the house, with the others stringing along the lane. Aunt Emma, your horse, it's had a baby. The grown-ups shift in frayed lawn chairs and chuckle. Iced tea glasses sweat and smoke curls upward. Slow down, Jeannie Bug, Aunt Emma says. Say that again. The mare has had her baby. A big horse came to tell us. The details tumble like a waterfall. Words fail and fall. 5. A waterfall of words. Words fall and fail. Pause. Did you see the baby horse? Asks Mommy. No, says Jeannie, but I know. A boy blows bubbles from a tiny wand. One wobbly prism rises, floats, and lands on Uncle Dale's bulging chew-stuffed cheek. He stands and rumbles. Hey kids, see what happens to those bubbles when they land on me? The children stare as he pulls out the lump of wet tobacco. They shiver with belief. Grown-ups look away and stifle laughter. The yellow jackets brood among the grapes. Their low buzz underscores the afternoon. Aunt Emma says, it's time for cake and ice cream. 6. Chocolate cake and homemade ice cream seep through paper plates. They eat with plastic spoons. Jeannie unwraps a Barbie doll, a Ken and Stacy too. The girls display the gowns and tiny colored mules across the grass. Jeannie thinks about the messenger, but does not say a word. Once again, Mommy piles the kids into the car. Jeannie feels the dusky summer heat, the melt and stick of skin on vinyl, the rush of words, the ash of mature laughter, the flash of disbelief. At home, she hears the song of self-assured cicadas as she slips between the clean white sheets. 7. She wakes, wrapped in a tangled sweat of sheets. The scent of Winston's travels through the house and the red phone in the kitchen jangles. Hello? Mommy says. Oh, really? A coincidence. You found her after we came home? I know. Drowsy summer morning minutes pass, then Mommy appears. Jeannie, are you awake? I think so. Who was that? Asks Jeannie. Aunt Emma. She says that filly's mighty fine. She's light brown with a white star on her nose. Jeannie shivers. She tosses back the damp bedclothes. The colors of the morning shift. Jeannie senses she's a stranger here. She recalls, words are prone to fail.
Amen.
And one short one about childhood, and then I'll turn it back to Tim. Fried mush and maple syrup. Anybody here ever eat fried mush?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, with maple
Maple
syrup.
syrup.
Yeah. You winked and raised your index finger to your lips. The lard spit. I jumped. You glanced over your shoulder. You spooned cold yellow squares into the cast iron pan. Pale yellow turned to gold, the edges crisped and browned. You carefully lifted the squares onto each white plastic plate. Slice the butter, you said, and handed me the knife. I put 2 cool cubes on fried cornmeal squares and watched them melt, pool, and swim toward the edges. You removed Aunt Jemima's cap and lifted her glass body. We sat on the floor watching black and white cartoons. You whispered, "Don't tell Mommy I fried mush for breakfast." I chewed that sticky secret, so tender, crisp, and rich. Thank you.
Sorry. I'm so coordinated. That was beautiful, Susan. So y'all will get this poem pretty quickly, I think. It's a hurricane poem, but it's a hurricane that came through Florida, but hovered over South Carolina. And when a hurricane hovers, what happens? Apertures. In a soft composition of rain, then an outpouring of grand expanse, rising to the hackberry, overwhelming the new deck, we fled 1,000 years. When floodwaters recede, the flesh of home sullied and sick, we focus lenses to memories, cross thresholds as shadow and light, see the demarcation of chance, watermarks on walls above the ruin of below, bone-dry oystermen in Savannah, wet muck on fresh in love faces, emulsion peeling layers of occasion from photos not worth another word. Toss albums into dumpsters, curse cameras from unlivable spaces, their apertures fixed to fate. Was it ever real? Our trip to Italy, the wedding on the beach at Edisto, stubbornly adhering to each other, no longer salvageable. Motion detectors. Is there a safe path, even with a light aimed perfectly on the walkway or upon the camellia bushes? We imagine a world with shadows everywhere, lurking to steal lives. Each corner of the house wired, waiting to chase away a two-legged rascal, but usually illuminating a rotund raccoon on another garbage raid, or the neighbor's cat twitching its tail on the roof of a Prius. When the wind bends the branch to jiggle in front of its lens, we crack the door to check, convinced we know why it goes on and off. We glower at them as they shine upon what it is we fear, the perils of living with creatures like us. How many people enjoy sailing? Yeah. The last figure eights. One more story of the Gulf Stream swells until the barnacle bottoms of tankers are roofs. Let others stand on bridges to watch the parade go by. Old sailors untie figure eights from docks, hoist sails, navigate through wreckage. They guzzle memories, drain the last drop, and slip infinity from cleats. Let salt eat the varnish until the teak is bare. They steer voyages with stars, reclaim the stolen wind. Backyard church. When you worship weeds you can't name, with pews full of bees. When you worship the procession of zebras to the jasmine. When you worship squirrels chattering morning gospels and turtles praying in garden temples. When you worship spiders that hang white robes on stained glass branches and the skink that rose from the dead. There's the new congregation of the red shoulder bugs. There's rainwater in green chalices. Do you recall the moment you first belonged? And two real short ones, and I'll turn it back over to Susan. Pause. These are about my dogs, who are no longer with me. Thirst hangs from his tongue. Ears twitch at the ripped bag of chips. The dark mirth of eyes, ready to pounce the distance, nudge you to explore instincts where there are no saviors, lords, masters, only breeds that pant for the torn. My dog at the beach. I spot my dog chasing terns. It chews a corner off the horizon. I call to those that are lost. How this dog has taken my grief like a shell in its mouth. My plea, a sharp note on the wind. More than any person deserves, it brings me a dead fish.
We were just talking on the way down about how unconditionally our dogs love us, and interesting that his dog loved him enough to present him with a dead fish. He probably thought that was a prize of the century. Is this on? There we go. So these next couple of poems might be difficult to listen to, but please don't worry. I assure you that my writing them was very important in my process of grieving, and I felt very much lightened when I wrote them. So I lost my 28-year-old son 11 years ago, 10 and a half years ago now, by his own hand. So, but here I am, vertical and writing, and life still has many good things. So this, you will see, kind of takes you through the process of grief. For now, a woman slips inside and whispers, "Hello?" It is dark and cool. Several votive candles send prayers heavenward before an icon of Mary. A slender priest shuffles in. She shows him a photo and asks, "Have you seen this young man?" He shakes his head and lips mine. The woman swishes past dried up tulips in a vase beside the door and nods goodbye. The sun burns on the small town scene. A vendor sits in shade selling handmade candles and incense. The woman approaches a clutch of people waiting at the light. A man with a Nikon strapped around his neck studies the wrinkled icon of the young man. His eyes fill, and his lips wrangle with the words he wants to say. A mashup of missing, son, when, and oh hell. The mother recalls the rows of unlit candles in the church. Have any of you seen? Then, in a kaleidoscopic whirl, she's at the scene. Red lights flash atop the sheriff's cruiser. iPhones groan. The sun blinks like a flailing candle. The searchers and the sheriff move their lips. She hears nothing. Oh no. Oh no, she says to her son's body, bent in that lush green. Momentarily, a profound hush falls on this summer suicide scene. His spirit rises, flies, and says, I'm sorry, goodbye. Hope smashes on the asphalt like a crystal icon. She recalls the yellow dried up tulips and regrets she did not stop to light a candle. For now, when she wakes, she lights a candle and recites a prayer in the morning's hush. When spring replays, she watches tulips slice the earth and burst upon the scene. Those reborn purple, red, and yellow icons open their mouths and sing, hello, oh, hello. Now this next one, I wish that I could sing, but I can't.
Oh, go for
And
it.
you'll be glad that I don't try, but you'll recognize the lines of these Beatles songs. And so my son was a musician, and I was driving in the car, and you'll hear several different voices. And he's already passed, but you'll hear his voice. Behind the wheel. You say yes, I say no. You say stop, and I say go, go, go. Hey, Ma, I heard you singing this old Beatles song and thought I'd pop around and join you. Alone with John, Paul, George, and Ringo, I shiver, pounding the steering wheel. Hear those birds? I used that chirping sample on my CD. Blackbird singing in the dead. You can't drop in whenever. You don't get to choose. Remember when the DJ played Twist and Shout and we danced at that reception? He sat shotgun, reaching out to squeeze my shoulder. Tears sprinted down my face. Aw, Ma, what's the matter? Nothing is real, nothing to get hung about, he sings. What's the matter, you say? The matter is I forgot that dance, then you show up. Come on, teaching you to twist was great. Lend me your ears and I'll sing you a song. You fell out of time. You are dead. Now act dead and stop showing up. He fades a shade or two and checks his phone. I watch his eyes. They blur over. Hey, I only meant today, not every day, not for always. His singing dims. Songs of laughter, shades of earth, calling me across the universe. Oh no, I don't know why you say goodbye. I say hello. Hello? Hello? And then, the final one, which is a much better place to land, remains. In our garage, your hockey skates still dangle. green and yellow parakeets still call from your painting on my office wall. Bright birds slowly dimming on a tangle of brown twigless branches. A singing bowl, a book of Dylan's lyrics, a leather journal whose stiffening leaves I turn to read the kernels of tunes, the jigsaw puzzles of your soul. The Warwick bass you paid for by yourself. 3 joints you rolled that I will never smoke, a New Year's gift you gave me as a joke. And you, now dust and ash rest on my shelf. Watercolors fade, ashes scatter, but love remains, firm, unchanging matter. Thank you.
And we just want to thank y'all for allowing us to read today, and I think that would be it, because we want to spend time with y'all. And so thank you for coming out. And Susan, you got anything you want to?
Yeah, thank you. I have cards. Oh, I do have one more thing.
And your books are for sale downstairs.
Yeah.
All of their books are for sale.
I was going to say that both in the poetry section and out on the front counter,
Right.
we've got both Tim and Susan's books.
And what I read from today, I did a poor job sort of letting y'all know, but I read from Theologies of Terrain, my first collection, and my latest collection, No True Route, and they have both books downstairs. And I just really, like, once again, would love to get to know y'all.
I echo that. And they have this book, On Earth. This is my second book. They have it downstairs. This one, Beyond All Bearing, is my first collection. And it's not here, but I'm sure
There's one copy.
There's one copy?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm sure you'd be happy to order it for anybody that wants to. And
That's cool.
I am the co-author of a creative writing poetry textbook which focuses on meter and form. So different styles of rhythm and couplets, stanza forms, all the way up through free verse and sonnets. So if they don't have this here, but you can find it in all the ordinary places. And if you want my card, I'll give it to you. I do workshops and things. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.